I have my tinfoil hat on currently with this. I'm calling it a conspiracy with all this pushback we've been getting in the comments, and then but not even on this show, just on social media, people talking about Michelin stars being given out too easily.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pause and bring a couple of data points here from the most recent California Michelin guide that dropped. 3 restaurants in particular. One is Enclose in Sonoma. One is Somni, which, for those that don't know, 3 stars right out of the gate. And there's a little bit of history that I can provide there. And then the other one is this place called Lilo, Lilo, in San Diego. And I want to tell stories on all 3 of them and then talk about this concept. So I'm comparing these 3 restaurants to other high-performing restaurants in California, one being Providence and then the other one being Addison, who have all had very different timelines when it came to earning their stars. And some of these are new restaurants, so we don't have as much data on them. But as an example, Providence was opened in 2005. They got their first star in 2008, and they got their 3rd star just now in 2025. You have to take into account that the fact that, LA lost their Michelin guide for a little while, so there was, a little bit of a season there where they were operating as a restaurant, but they weren't able to get their Michelin stars.
Yeah.
All of that, a little bit grain of salt. Same thing with Addison. Opened in 2006. They got their first star in 2019. And then in 2022, 3 years later, they got their 3rd star. You compare that to Enclose, which is in Sonoma, and just this year when they opened, 2 Michelin stars right out the gate and a green star. Somni, whose story was right before the pandemic, they had 2 Michelin stars. They were associated with Jose Andres. Chef Ayator and his team got those 2 Michelin stars. Pandemic causes the restaurant to close. They changed locations, and this first year that they're reopened, 3 Michelin stars right out the gate. So maybe a little bit of up to debate. Is that a straight to 3 Michelin stars, or, do we have to, pause and maybe consider it a new concept? I don't know. Conversation for the comments.
Yeah.
And then Lilo, this restaurant in San Diego, they opened in April of 2025. The guide came out in June. So 10 weeks after they opened, they got their first Michelin star. And so I take a look at that, and I look at some of the team members. Some examples or maybe some shout outs is Chef Adam Gale, who's the chef de cuisine of Enclose. He has experience both at 11 Madison Park as well as Quince, and then he went and worked in Europe for a while at Gordon Ramsay and worked with Claire Smith and worked at Noma. And then you also have Lawrence from the French Laundry. He was like the maitre d' at the French Laundry for a while, and now he's like one of the front of house managers at Enclose. And then you also, I already gave the rundown of Somni. I don't know the team from Lilo as well. But my conspiracy that I come to after hearing all of these stories is not that Michelin is giving out stars too easily. It's that chefs and dining room teams just know better what to do.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to spend, the decade testing it out and figuring out what our food is. They would rather just do what works, format things right, present the little tartlets at the beginning of the meal, serve the caviar, serve the A5 Wagyu for the big meat, do the incredible dessert presentations in the great dining room with the wine program and the, front of house people in the suits that are tailored. And it's like there's almost like a formula here that works.
Yeah.
And we are seeing that being played out in real time with these restaurants who are getting stars faster than ever. And I don't think you can point to any of them and say that is not a 2 Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
I have friends who have gone to some of these experiences and they've been like, I had somebody who posted who was like, Enclose is a 3 Michelin star restaurant and they just opened. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Same with Somni. You know what I mean? Same with, Lilo getting some of this stuff really quickly. And you look at the food and it's not like it's like, hey, this is, subpar execution being awarded or getting these accolades. It is genuinely, we live in a world where it is not necessarily on the boundary pushing, R&D heavy, side of things with the menu.
Yeah.
It is, we know what works. We're going to open these 4 walls and we're really going to go for it and focus. And that is being rewarded on the Michelin side. I just think it's an interesting concept that, previously we, even way back in the day when you talk about like the UK or in France, it was just commonplace that you might have been a 3 Michelin star restaurant, but Michelin is going to force you to go for 1 star first, and then the year after you get 2, and then the year after you get 3. I don't know if you have thoughts on this like rapid rise. I'm calling it skipping 1 star. So is it Michelin standards or chefs just getting better, their repertoire being more robust, them just having an understanding of what works in the market?
Yeah, I have 2 reactions. One, I think from my personal critique of Michelin, I don't think I've ever, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I don't think I've ever like critique that it's been easier. I think I've actually had the opposite critique that like, not going to Virginia, or if you go in a new market, you're not even guaranteed a star. Like
Right.
I feel like you can't hold the opinion that Michelin is giving away stars and then also hold the opinion that they're bad because they didn't give a star to a new territory. That argument contradicts itself. I
Mm.
think what it comes down to is like it's the idea of removing the paying your dues aspect of a Michelin star restaurant, and it's the idea of just like what do we as chefs find acceptable, or what does a person find acceptable in ranking? And actually, a pretty funny comparison is recently for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you don't know, like getting a black belt usually takes 10 to 12 years. And there was this one guy, super wealthy. He's also training with like the best people in the world. He got his black belt in 3.5 years. It's in the jiu-jitsu community been a really big hot topic because on the one hand, there's people like, well, if he's that level, like let's go see it. Like whatever, if he's that level of a black belt, then he's a black belt. Obviously, let's put it to the test and see. But then there's people that are like, well, at each level, and there is, like I've trained with people, and I think, and I fall in this boat. It's like there's certain levels. There's white belt. There's blue belt. You stay at those levels for a certain amount of time because you need to learn certain things within the art within the sport itself. And so to go from white to black in 3.5 years is astounding. Like, I've done it for 2 years, and like I'm still white. It takes a lot to do that. So if you're doing it every day, I guess I could see an expedited process. But you also need to like sit at those levels and spar people at those levels. And what I mean to say with all that is like, yes, like I think it's good that the paying dues part is gone, but I think it's a reframing of how we see the Michelin stars. A Michelin, I think some people see the Michelin ratings as like you get your first star, then you get your second star, then you get your third. And it's like a progression. It's like a belt in a martial art, where it really should probably be viewed as just a rating. Where I do think a lot of people see it like this is okay, you're the best, your restaurant can be, and we think it's the best. You get your 3 stars. You don't have to stop at 1 and 2 to get to 3 because it's not a progression ranking, but it is a true rating of where your restaurant is at this given time, which I think is a more accurate representation of how restaurants should be rated. So that's my thoughts on it. And I think, yeah, I think it's interesting to see. And I don't think that Michelin has lost their quality at all. I do have my critiques of them, but this is.
Well, I think I love that you brought that up because not to push back on it, but I do think that the paying dues gets done before you decide to open this place.
Yeah.
I think seeing even some of my own like early 20s angst that I had where I was like, I'm going to be a young 3 Michelin starred chef. Like that's going to be my goal. I'm going to do it super young and I'm going to make the headlines for doing that achievement. And you see some of these people deciding where I'm going to wait till I'm 35 and I'm going to work in these places and that's where the dues are paid. And instead of figuring it out under the roof of my own restaurant where my name is on the menu, I'm going to figure it out on other people's dime, basically. I'm going to get all those learnings being a sous chef at, XYZ place. Then I'm going to go to Europe and get these, skills learned. And I'm going to make sure that I understand product. And I tell the story all the time of like Dave Barron spent like a year in LA researching, going to farmers markets, working with all Four Seasons, fermenting stuff, deciding what he was going to do before he opened Dialogue at the time. And that ended up closing. But it is this like 10-year, 15-year overnight success type of situation.
Yeah.
Where, to your point on something like jiu-jitsu, which is a individual kind of sport, I see this much more as like either a chef or, like a robust team of people who are just savages who basically just get assembled to execute on this concept. And it is that like we know exactly what we want this to be.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I actually want to applaud. The pre-work that goes into what is this concept going to be. And instead of we're just going to open and we're going to hash it out as we go, it's like this is what happens when you do that right.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what the dining room is going to look like and what serviceware we're going to do. It allows you to kind of circumnavigate or shortcut. I hate using the word shortcut because it makes it seem like they're cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or but it's actually just very good execution of focus. You know what I mean? So that was maybe more where I was leading.
Heard.